Welcome to Talking Heads on USA Global TV, starring the one and only wonderful Dr. Jacqueline. It's a prestigious place where world-class influencers and experts meet, and where you'll find the most trusted advisors and coaches for all things in life and business. Visit usaglobaltv.com to sign up for our newsletter, get the value you need, and be first in line to learn about events and giveaways and other valuable content. Connect with us. Email Dr. Jacqueline at usaglobaltv.com to talk about how you can become part of USA Global TV. That's USA Global TV, where the doctor is always in.
Hello and welcome to USA Global TV and Radio. For those of you who are joining us for the first time, and for those of you who have been a part of many of our shows, it's a pleasure and an honor to be with you today. My name's Jenetta Barry, and our show today is Talking Heads. And I'm an expert presenter on today's topic, which is all about embracing our deepest fears, those fears that are often hidden, that we don't even know we're running deep inside us. So let's begin. First of all, I wanted to ask you, because this is my header on my LinkedIn page. If you knew you could accurately communicate through challenging times without either fear of personal loss or being judged, or both, would you be interested? So my quote that early on in this work that I've used often is, we live in a world that's mostly attached to being positive, when in actuality, there's equal amount of gain in being negative as there is in the loss, as there is loss in being positive. And for those of you who are joining me for the first time, I'm going to go a little bit. And for those of you who've joined me in my other episodes, just to recap what we've embraced before in what I call this yin and yang of science. So previously, we've talked about the fact that we are so attached to being positive, and we try and eliminate all negative word, thought, and deed, and how that doesn't work, how it actually does the opposite. It doesn't help you. It disempowers you, because our whole way of expressing ourselves, we're instruments of sound, light, and vibration. And if you study all those parts of who we are, they work in cycles. And if you study a cycle, you'll see that a cycle requires equal amount of negative and positive in it for it to be empowered. And electricity is a very good example of that. Take the negative charge out of electricity, and you've got no electricity. And yet we go around so often believing that we need to be only negative and take out all negative thoughts and all negative emotions, and then we'll be the perfect citizen number one. So and if you'd like to see more on that, do go back on past episodes and listen to it in more depth, because it's insightful and thought-provoking and emotion balancing as well. And then we've also talked about being able to identify, because there are over 4,700 human qualities listed in the dictionary, and approximately half are positive and half are negative. And it's when we judge those parts of ourselves as being inadequate. So maybe we've got a whole list of negative qualities that we go, I don't like them, I don't enjoy them, I go out of my way to make sure I do not portray them, so that I can be more loved and more lovable and more accepted. And what happens is that the moment we eliminate that which we judge in ourselves, we elevate its opposite and become very proud. And then what then happens is we become a natural loving magnet. It doesn't feel very loving sometimes, but it is a natural magnet to attract people and circumstances in our lives that portray the very qualities that we judge in ourselves. And what happens is those circumstances and those people become our inadvertent teachers. They don't know that, but they do. And when you start understanding the value of that which you judge in yourself has as much to serve you as it doesn't, and the stuff that you admire in yourself, the qualities you admire in yourself, has as much disservice as it does have service, then suddenly there's this feeling of acceptance of self and others that peels away the distraction of over analyzing things to try and get things perfectly right, or over emotionalizing things to try and feel okay. When those two are brought together in that place of manageability, as we learn to love every part of ourselves for what does serve in us and what doesn't, then new conversations and new communication begin. And last week, I was able to take you through a basic step-by-step way of asking yourself these balancing questions that don't keep you attached to either the negative or to the positive, but bringing both together. But often, and this is what I wanted to share today, especially if you've gone through a particularly tough challenge. I mean, some of you will know that I have worked with people worldwide with great trauma, and even young people who are stuck in bed, self-harming, writing suicide notes, not eating, not washing, and just don't want to carry on with life generally, or don't know how to carry on with life, but it doesn't seem very attractive to carry on. And I've been able to help many, many people with that. And even when there's a challenge, be it with a family member, or be it with a colleague or a client, or people you report to, or socially, it could be to a social group, or to one person, or several people who are portraying actions and taking decisions that are really leaving you feel charged. Often when we start that process of questioning that I helped you with in essence last week, it's almost impossible to answer those questions when there's an underlying fear and judgment that comes way back from when you were a child. And it blew me away when I realized how much of what I was saying and doing, and when I couldn't use my process on myself, was attached to a silent, unknowing conversation I was running until I learned how to undo it and allow it. And that brings me, before I show you how to unlock that deepest hidden fear, and some of you might know the fear, but a lot of people don't. It blows me away how when I start asking, they start going, oh yeah, okay. And then how to bring it safely out is the next step. And this is why, I mean, we're in an industry, I'm in an industry that talks a lot about visualization, meditation and visualization, and it is fantastic and it does work. But there's an aspect of it that doesn't work because of the very subject we're talking about today. And so this is when you've got, maybe you have been helped to know exactly what it is you want to do in life, or what it is you want to achieve at home, what it is you want to achieve socially, what it is you want to achieve physically, or within your work, within your vocation, or financially, or whatever it is. And you're very clear that that's really what you want to be and do. And then what happens is, I mean, there are so many wonderful apps and ways of being able to take that visualization and put it into boards or to animate it or whatever and start affirming all these affirmations and psyching yourself up every morning with the gratitude list and being determined to get past whatever is holding you back. They're hugely helpful. But yet again, I've found people who have, and me, I'm a people that does this too, where I've got this vision and I've got this goal, and then I realize something is still holding me back, even though there is a visualization board, and even though I am using my affirmations, and some of them I've written myself, they're not even anybody else's affirmations. And the reason for that is that there's this silent internal conversation going on inside me and others that I didn't often know I'm even running. So there are many things that hold one back when you are actually visualizing what it is and affirming what it is that you want to bring about and to manifest. And in applying the process, people get completely stuck. So maybe they haven't even got to the visualization and affirmation. Maybe they're still too charged. So let's start there. And then they're feeling really, really stuck. And I'm working the process because it helps so much, because I'm like that coach at gym that says 5 mental push-ups and 20 emotional sit-ups now. And these questions are like that. And then they're really stuck and they're going, I can't answer. And it gets to a point where it's absolutely impossible for them to see any value in their challenging traits, as I've explained now. So maybe their thing is that I'm always kind and gentle. And when they're not kind and gentle, because we're both, and there are times where however much you try to be kind and gentle, in fact, how many of you have experienced similar to this in a different form? I was going to be the perfect mother, kind and gentle and thoughtful and reasonable and talking things through. And then one of my children would take, say, my glass of water and move it from here to here. And because I was juggling with 100,000 billion things, I really needed it there for whatever reason. And suddenly it was like, where do you belong? I'm being far from gentle and kind and thoughtful and reasonable. And then I'd go away, hitting myself going, well, you're not that mother you thought you were. And so when we're attached to believing we're one thing, it's bound to come out like a volcano at some time or another until we understand the value of being explosive, so that you can bring the explosion down to a place of manageability where you become appropriately assertive in that situation, which was, that glass of water, the reason why it was there is because of so-and-so, and I'm asking you to honor and appreciate that I need it there. And suddenly your conversation changes when you're not judging yourself as being Mother of the Year. That's an example, and I'm sure many of you out there have experienced the same. So when it gets to a point, and I'm being that coach with the push-ups and the sit-ups, it's become absolutely impossible for them to see any value in the trait that they judge as being unacceptable and they just can't, even despisable for some people, let me tell you. And just as impossible to see any downside on what they admire or like. And so it's really what they perceive to the downside is what will save them or make them better or larger. No, that's a downside. How can it make me feel anything? It makes me feel horrible. So that's where having that coach makes a big difference, because those questions I gave you last night are lovely when the going is easy, but you're likely to appear to approach them when the going is not easy. And that's when it helps, because you're going, I can't answer that question. I just cannot answer the question. And when I can feel that the person has come to that place, I'm then able to understand that that's the hidden fear that's blocking them from seeing any value in whatever it is they're trying to become clear and certain and focused about. So the first thing is to understand, is what you're wanting to do really in your value system? So if we went back to the manifestation side, is it what you're doing, or are you doing it because others are doing it, or actually you want to please your mother, or it's to help somebody else but it's not really for you, or others are doing it so it must be right? And in fact, that judgment and fear is our biggest stumbling block. So no amount of visualization, as I was saying to you, will help you, or the affirming, until you get through this. And so an example would be, each of us have a child inside us that, by the way, we shut down when we hit puberty. Some of us earlier. I think I was quite a young and emotionally mature person, which didn't have as many benefits as it may sound. So that child gets locked up inside us in conversation. And that child has had many things happen over a period of time that's left them cautious about saying certain things or doing certain things or believing certain things. And for a person on their own to bring it out, it's too scary to bring out. I could visualize this, but this happened way back then. And so if I visualize what I want, then what scared me back then is scaring me now, attached to what I'm visualizing. It's too scary to bring out that fear, or too much will go wrong because so much went wrong back then. And I'm not allowed to express it. Maybe it's that. Maybe it was about being shut down continuously about things that really scared you, and you didn't have the opportunity to express how you felt in that space-time because the people guiding you were possibly too busy or too scared themselves, or whatever that story might have been. And yet it's this sometimes hidden conversation that we're silently running in and out of every thought, feeling, action, deed that holds us back from moving forward with whatever it is that we want to do. So to get you through to this next stage, when I can hear that the person's going, I can't see any value, how can you possibly ask me to tell you how it's serving me, because all I see is disservice. I don't see any service in shouting. I don't see any service in ignoring somebody, or I don't see any service, whatever that charge is, that's stopping you from attaching what you really want to do in your visualization and affirmations. And this is what I do. I say to the person, what specifically is it that you feel is bothering you the most about this? So they might say, well, it feels like I'm too big for my boots. I'm not qualified enough for this. I'm not good enough for this. And then we go in a different direction. Rather than analyzing that, we go into the direction of this silent conversation. And it goes like this. I go, all right, so if you go this route and it doesn't go right, what will go wrong? And I don't want you to reply with a solution. I want you to reply from a place of no solution. So they might say, okay, I move over to this new job doing exactly what I want to do, and then nobody will like me. Maybe that's the fear. I'm making this up as I'm going along, although I'm not, because I've had this so often with clients. But let's say it's that. There are many hundreds of reasons. So I'm not going to be liked. People will think I'm bigger than my boots. And then what will go wrong? oh, well, then Uncle Harry will help me and make me feel better. No, that's the solution. No solutions. Cut the solution, because that's what distracts us from identifying the real fear. We go, here's the fear. Oh, yeah, but Uncle Harry will help me. Or, oh, yeah, but, with time, I won't feel so much like that. So you've got to constantly drop the story. And that's quite scary. That can be quite a scary thing to do. So what will go wrong? I always get teased because Andy, my fiance, can hear me in the far distance in my room, hearing me saying, and then what will go wrong? And then what will go wrong? And then what will go wrong? And when you keep on answering from a place of no solutions, you start going down that rabbit hole where that little girl is sitting almost in prison, terrified, because that's the story she's running, that ultimately, at the end of the day, the last thing will happen will be this. So they'll go down the road saying things like, okay, so nobody will like me. And then what will go wrong? If nobody likes me, I'll be isolated and alone. And then what will go wrong? If I'm isolated and alone, nobody will want to interact with me. And then nobody at my work will like me either, because I'm not good enough. And then what will go wrong? Well, nobody will come to me in a place of authority. So I'll lose my authority and being somebody that you go to. And then what will go wrong? I'll lose my job. Okay. And then what will go wrong? I won't be qualified for another job. And then what will go wrong? I have no money. And then what will go wrong? I won't be able to feed myself. And then what will go wrong? I'll end up in the street. And then what will go wrong? I'll be cold and lonely and hungry on the street. And then and they carry on until they cannot go on any further. And by the time you get to the end of letting that little story out, you'll start laughing and go, but that would never happen. That would never happen. The only time that would happen if it was in your value system, which is the other thing. If you study people who have ended up on the street, there's something in there that's serving them. Otherwise, they would have avoided it at all costs. I certainly would avoid it at all costs because it's not in my value system. So there was something there. And the person sits there going, but that would never happen. But it really has been what's bothering me and has been driving me to not do this. That's my secret hidden fear. Many different stories come out. I've given you one of a typical one, really. And of course, once allowed out, that inner child that is us, suddenly you're feeling like you have heard you. You are now able to endorse you, that fear was very valid. Although you're laughing at it now, it was very valid. It had been shut down because it was declared invalid and stupid, unheard. And that feeling that fear from maybe the 6-year-old child or the 8-year-old, I'm very fortunate in my work in that I'm able to pinpoint when that happened from my intuitive training and studies, and I can almost tell what happened, can almost tell them the story. But it's amazing to watch how they start feeling that it's okay and normal to feel that way, that you're not being stupid, you're not being childish, you're not being an idiot and ridiculous. It's the normal part of bringing yourself into presence in the now so that you can take what is working with you, and even that, because when you can identify what it is that you've been running either silently or in a place of hiding, once you've identified that, embraced it, loved it, appreciated it, and seen how that portion of that story is serving you. Okay, so it's helping me to not be too cocky. It's helping me to find new ways of doing things with new communication styles, maybe, or to reach out to somebody because I'm feeling that little child feels because when my child comes out, I now have a partner who knows me. And I'll just sit down and go, this is what I'm feeling. I know exactly where it comes from. It came from when I was 8 years old, and I'm still running it like I'm 8 years old. But I've now been able to see it in its true light, in the light of day. I love it. And it's helped me, having that fear has helped me reach out to my partner, or it's assisted me to talk to you today, or it's pushed me to do a little bit more research and study in what I'm doing, because that child feels so inadequate, because maybe it's the child goes, I'm too thick. So what makes me feel as though I'm the opposite, and I'm actually quite clever? Okay, that piece of research will help me feel like I'm capable. So when you can start embracing that story and understanding how valuable that child's fear is to you, what it's pushing you to do and to be and to become, suddenly you go, thank goodness I had that hidden fear. And even more, thank goodness, I have the tools now to bring it out, see it in its true light, love it, adore it, embrace it, accept it, and move forward with it rather than opposing it. So I want to say to you, if you'd like to know more about this and you're feeling a bit stuck doing it on your own, rather like trying to exercise on your own, and it's always wonderful to have somebody who's preceded you and walked the walk and talked the talk. I would love to chat with you some more and share how to really get over these blocks like never before. And I want to thank you for your attention and interest today. It always gladdens my heart when I know that there are people out there in similar situations that really want to do something to get past those limitations, which are just that. They're perceptions, in fact. And I look forward to having you with me in future presentations. But in the meantime, please, for our new people on this presentation today in this show, please do subscribe to our YouTube channel, which is USA Global TV. And you can find all our Talking Heads episodes in there in YouTube under the playlist titled Talking Heads 2022. And there is a mine of information there for you. And also, as I say, please do reach out to me if I may be of service. And you can contact me on theepiphanyprocess.com or Jenetta at theepiphanyprocess.com. And I'm going to give you because sometimes this presentation touches people and they feel they need to speak almost immediately. So I'm going to give you my WhatsApp number today for anybody who'd like to immediately chat to me after this show or after you've watched the replay of this show. And my WhatsApp number is +44, which is the UK code, and then 777 4230464. And I look forward to speaking with you and interacting with you. And in the meantime, see you next week as I send you lots of love.